up people's imagination and makes them want to go on this magical journey.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Knights of the Nerds Table. Well, we are finally here. This holiday season, get ready for the final installment of the DCEU/the Snyderverse, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Before we dive into this movie breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. Now, let's get into it. Take a journey with me. The year is 2018. Marvel is firing on all cylinders with hits like Black Panther and Infinity War. Even the off-brand Sony movies were fire, like Venom, Deadpool 2, and Into the Spider-Verse. The rival studio DC, as usual, was having quite a bit of trouble with public perception. Man of Steel was divisive, and BVS was even more controversial. Suicide Squad was flashy, but with little substance, #release the era cut. But then Wonder Woman came on the scene, and girl boss DC back to prominence. But we all know what was next. The mess that was the theatrical cut of Justice League. The studio is still reeling from this mistake to this very day. Despite the challenges that the Justice League had, audiences generally liked Jason Momoa's Aquaman, dubbing him Aqua Bro for his rambunctious and cynical take on the character. So no one knew what to expect for his solo outing. And to everyone's surprise, it was a delightful success. Critics liked it, audiences loved it, and best of all for the studio, it was a huge financial triumph, nailing in about $1.1 billion at the box office. To this day, it is the largest grossing DC movie of all time. It was even more successful than any single movie in the Dark Knight trilogy. As of today, it is the third top grossing Warner Brothers movie of all time. The film wasn't quite as culturally relevant as The Dark Knight was, but it was just a little bit more accessible to the general audience. The plot was straightforward and not very convoluted. After the events of Justice League, Arthur Curry goes back to chill with his dad. His background is quite complicated. His father, years ago, had secretly married the Queen of Atlantis. This was frowned upon since the Queen of Atlantis, Atlantia, was promised to someone else. Plus, Atlanteans and humans are beefing a bit, due to humans being indifferent about polluting the ocean. The Atlanteans had reportedly executed Atlanta for this affair, while Arthur was raised by his human pops. His brother Orm becomes king of Atlantis, and he immediately begins to beat the drums for war against the land dwellers. Aquaman is reluctantly recruited to stop his stepbrother by Volko, played by Hollywood Crazy Eyes Willem Dafoe, and Atlantean royal Mera, played by lovable and completely uncontroversial actress Amber Heard. They go on a wacky adventure to get the movie MacGuffin, the Trident of Neptune. On the way, they fight against Black Manta, a mercenary hired by Orm, who also blames Aquaman for the death of his father. Aquaman does retrieve the Trident and discovers that his mother, played by Nicole Kidman, is actually alive. He goes back to stop Orm from his warmongering ways, imprisons his brother, and rules over the kingdoms of Atlantis with Mera by his side. Fans young and old were wowed by the pretty spectacle that was this movie. It was a creative and vibrant world, and everyone was excited for the sequel. There were even plans at one point for the director, James Wan, to create a horror spin-off for this franchise called The Trench. It was all up from here, and there was nothing that could stop the rise of the DCEU. We were eating good. So what happened between the 5 years from 2018 to 2023? Well, not a lot on screen, unfortunately. Aquaman as a character has made 2 appearances in this time frame. One in James Gunn's Peacemaker with The Flash, and another mid-credit scene appearance after the events of the Flash movie this year. Amber Heard's Mera had extended sequences in Zack Snyder's Justice League and also filmed additional scenes for the Nightmare sequence. The real storytelling was unfortunately happening behind the scenes. What was Warner Brothers supposed to do with now divisive actress Amber Heard? Her defamation trial with her ex-husband Johnny Depp was the worst PR that DC could have had at the time, regardless of how you feel about Depp or Heard. Her perceived strange behavior at the trial was meme-worthy, and there were calls for her to be removed entirely from the sequel to Aquaman. Warner Brothers was also going through multiple mergers, the AT&T merger and then with Discovery. That's not even mentioning the pandemic, which caused delays in filming and premiere date pushbacks. While all this was going on, James Wan tried his best to tool together a good follow-up to his hit movie. Almost 3 sets of reshoots and rumors of bad screenings later, here we are. The original plan for this movie was to follow up the soft reboot events of The Flash. At the time, Michael Keaton was supposed to be the main Batman in this universe, and it was rumored that he was going to play a part in this film. Then there was a shift in the DC universe, and Ben Affleck's Batman was not going to disappear in The Flash, and was going to stay on as Batman and play a part in this film. Jason Momoa himself announced this on Instagram. Then James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC, and the movie was no longer a continuation of the DCEU in the Snyderverse. It is now just an unheralded, unceremonious end to the DCEU that started 10 years ago. The rumored Trench film also was cancelled. So, what is this movie actually about? Well, we have the return of most of the main cast. Momoa, Heard despite herself, Patrick Wilson, Nicole Kidman, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen will all return in their respective roles. The only principal cast member not back for this film will be Willem Dafoe, who had a scheduling conflict with another film. The lives of Aquaman and Mera have progressed. Their parents, they now have a little Aqua baby. Arthur is leading the kingdoms of Atlantis and all seems well. Black Manta is still a bit peeved about his dad's death, and he feels that Arthur is still responsible for his defeat in the last film. So naturally, Manta is on a bit of a revenge tour. Manta is able to procure a magical artifact called the Black Trident, which causes him to become pretty powerful and a serious threat to Arthur and Atlantis. He is such a force to be reckoned with that Arthur will have to team up with his formerly disgraced brother Orm to fight these powers. Feels a little like Thor Dark World, but I'll allow it. I'll give Patrick Wilson this man is totally beefed up. There's gotta be a gym in that dungeon that they threw him in, cause wow. Wilson seems physically and mentally prepared to team up with Momoa on this journey to the center of the Earth's action-styled comedy. Now, although this does seem like a swan song for this universe, this concept, although simple, does sound kind of enticing and fun. I'm in. Because this is a narrative cul-de-sac, I don't know if we will get a ton of DC cameos. It would be really nice to see Gal or any of the other members of the League, but because of the odd relationship Warner Brothers has with the OG Justice League crew, it's pretty unlikely. It's a shame. I think I personally would have wanted this film to be a true send-off for this universe, but that's not what it's set up to be. I think because of this fact, a lot of fans don't know what to do with this movie, because to be honest, I think we're all exhausted by this brand. But if this is the end, we should just treat this as a self-contained story. Don't worry about Easter eggs or anything else beyond this film, because that's not really what's at play here. Just relax and enjoy it as one last trip around the sun with these heroes. It's a tough way to go out, but the best way to enjoy this movie is to forget the noise, forget the fandoms online, forget the reboot, forget everything except the story of Aquaman that is being told right now. James Wan, Jason Momoa, and Zack Snyder have recreated the King of Atlantis into the version we see today. He used to be a joke, and now he's a household name. And when Momoa departs from this role, this will be large scales or fins to fill. Thanks for watching Knights of the Nerds Table. What are you looking for in this last DCEU movie? Are you going to miss the old DCEU? Comment below. Night out. Look forward to seeing you in theaters.